So in this module, we will talk about the melodic elements of my tracks. So first of all, as I mentioned, it is important to choose your scale. And for this track, I've chosen G major. And I would recommend you to actually look up the meaning of the scale. If you're leaning towards a certain scale, there are actually some attributes that describe each scale. And I found it very fascinating to read a bit more about that, like how each scale appeals to us depending on the emotions we're feeling. So, for example, G major stands for calm and satisfied and friendship, faith, it's a full of peace scale. But there are other scales that are, for example, leaning more towards grief or like a lot stronger, sadder emotions. So if you're leaning towards one scale all the time in your tracks, then it's probably worth looking up what it means, and it could maybe be interesting for you to discover something about why you're always choosing this scale. Anyway, moving on to the technical part. So as I mentioned, my music is heavily dependent on the chord progression. So for this song, here we go. These are my chords. So it's like E minor to A minor to C major to D major. And usually what happens is like if we progress from minor keys to the major keys, I find that there is a feeling of this kind of satisfying, uplifting, hopeful element to it. So that's how I a lot of times approach my chord progression. And we can listen to the chords on their own if you like. So I guess it has a little bit of this like angelic vibe to it. Like my tracks are quite ethereal. And for these pads, I've actually used a soft synth, which is called Diva. And it's one of my favorite soft synths. And it has a very, very good sound, very close to analog synth. So I use it for my pad, for my lead melodies. You can, of course, create your own presets here. And I have hundreds of different ones, and also ones I got from the internet. So yeah, for this one, it's the pad sound, which you can also modulate later with, for example, a cutoff. And there are also different internal effects you can use, like chorus, delay, phaser, reverb, rotary too. Not sure what this one is actually. Anyway, yeah, so these are my chords. So that's the key elements to my melodic elements in the track. And based on these, I will build the rest of the track. So my melody lines are usually quite minimalistic, quite scarce, because there will be so many different melodic elements in the track. I try to create melody line more as a completion of the groove. And in this track, you can see it's very, very subtle. So it's just few notes here and there. And for this, I used Serum, which is also a very cool soft synth. And I created this basic trance lead that I use a lot. And so we can hear it better without all the processing, because there's quite a lot of processing going on here. Yeah, you have two oscillators here that you can manipulate. You have a filter, so you can play with these to create your own presets. And once you have one that you like and you store, you can also play with it later with different effects. And I have here a synth effects preset that I've stored, that I've used on my synths, and it has a lot of delays, a lot of reverb. I like when my melody lines and all melodic elements swim in my track. So maybe sometimes a little bit too much, but it's just, I enjoy it this way.